Are you sick and tired of everything being your fault? Do you feel like anytime you try and address an issue, the blame gets shifted to you? Well, don't worry. On today's video, we're going to teach you 3 tips how to end the blame game and to help you understand the real reason that your wife is shifting the blame onto you. And spoiler alert, it's not because she's a narcissist. Now, today we're being joined by our ARC Legends, where we're going to help you address the issues in your marriage. So, ARC Legends Assemble, welcome. Good to see you guys again. How are all you beautiful motherfuckers doing? You good?
Yeah.
Solid. Awesome. Solid. That's what we want. All right. Today, the question we got is from Wesley from the US, guys. And it's anytime I bring up issues, it seems like they get blamed on me. Somehow it's always my fault. So, guys, little show of hands. Who knows that feeling? Why do you think it goes on, guys? Why is this such a common dynamic of, hey, it's not my fault, it's your fault? Go for it, Optimus. Yep.
I look at it now like, well, in a relationship, I think it's more, each person's on their own side of the ring, and it should be more of a teamwork and coming to the solution together so that, each partner is in each other's corner rather than on the other side of the ring. Coming together and, validating the emotions that each person has and, working through it to kind of come to that commonality between each other to kind of find the solution that you guys can both feel great about and strengthen your relationship.
Right on. Well said. So it would be fair to say it's a game of the egos, right? It's like the last thing that we want is to be wrong, right? I will die on this hill. I am right. It's your fault, right? So let's answer the first and foremost. What is blame shifting, guys? So blame shifting is a defense mechanism or tactic to avoid taking responsibility. So it's just like the last thing you want to do is be wrong. And so this is, if your wife is doing this, this is what's happening. She just doesn't want to be wrong. And also, I do want to hit on this because this topic, I knew doing a bit of research on this topic is a lot of the videos that are out there about how your wife is a narcissist or how a husband is a narcissist. And I just want to, I hate this labeling. I think labeling is never beneficial. Even if your wife does happen to be a narcissist, it's not going to be beneficial to actually call her that. So, but more than likely, she's not a narcissist, because in the US, research suggests that only between 1 to 6% of people actually suffer from narcissistic personality disorder. And, looking at all those personality disorders, it's around about 9%. So you've got a 91% chance that your wife is not a narcissist. And that's what we're going to be covering today on this video. So what we want to hit on here, guys, is how we communicate matters a lot. So I think we can all feel the pain of what Wesley is going through, right? He wants to address issues and move the dial forward in his marriage, move the relationship forward. But anytime he brings it up, he's getting blamed, and that's like really frustrating. So, but how you communicate those issues really matters. So, guys, let's get into that. Like, what are the kind of mistakes that we made when it comes, maybe from your own, situation you think about back when in your marriage where you wanted to address an issue? What are the kind of mistakes that we make when it comes to addressing that issue with our spouse? What are the mistakes that we make? Cowboy, what do you think?
Well, when issues come up, I don't want to say we, but I know it's a pretty common thing. So anyway, when issues come up, they have a tendency to kind of fire back or come out of the gates real strong. Like, you do this when you do that. They just whatever it is, like you initially start the blaming without even realize you're starting it. Like, you think at least with me, I thought I was just trying to address an issue that came up and, trying to nip it in the bud. And all I ended up doing was putting my wife in a defensive position because, I'm coming at her like she was the problem.
Yeah. So coming in hot, like all guns blazing right off the bat. That's a good one, man. That is a very big mistake that a lot of guys make. They're not even aware they're doing it, and then it's like, oh my god, why is she reacting this way? Well, it's because you came in and you try to take her head off. Okay, good point. And Knight Rider, what about from your side?
For me, it's all about the approach to the issue that you're going to have a conversation about, because the fact that it's an issue means that there are going to be two different perspectives with that particular issue. So if you come into it a bit like what Cowboy said, a little bit hot, without preparing your wife for the conversation properly, when you come in and she's unprepared, automatically her human reaction will be the defense mechanism will come up. And then if you're not careful and you don't negotiate it properly, it will be a case of, yeah, well, I think this, you do this, you do this. And then you're just going to get back, well, no, I think this, you do this. And again, without preparing your wife properly for the conversation, it's almost like you're pouncing on it. And it's like in her eyes, how she'll receive that conversation is you coming in saying, look, I think this, you're doing this wrong, you, what do you think? You're wrong, aren't you? Like that. And there it goes downhill because the preparation and the approach is all wrong.
Right on. That's very well said. So yeah, let's look at the common mistake. These are kind of the issues that we face when it comes to addressing issues proactively. We generalize. So rather than just sticking to the topic at hand, we'll say, you never listen, or you're always blaming, and you start bringing up the past. You make it's like blanket. You're not sticking to the one point. You generalize, and this can make your wife feel like the problem is pervasive, that it's always been there. We'll get her to shut down and get defensive. And on the other hand, when we make it personal, so you make it about you are this type of person, like you're let's say you're just like your mother does the same thing. Your mother won't help out. Your mother is doing. When we make it personal like that, it makes it really difficult, right? And these are really like common mistakes we make. So don't generalize. Always stick to the actual topic, so the issue at hand, and try not to, with your statements, make it personal. You do this, you do that. That doesn't help. Now, just to be clear, this is not simple. So we've actually created a communication guide. So if you want to avoid making any of these mistakes, you can find a link down below to download our free communication guide, which is going to ensure that when you address issues in your marriage proactively, you're not going to fall into these traps. So that's when you're addressing issues proactively. Let's look at now the mistakes that we make, guys, when our wives start blaming. So what do you think are the common mistakes that we make, guys, when she starts, you're there, you've done, let's say you're nothing wrong, and she just starts giving you shit. So she's putting everything onto you. What are the kind of common issues or common mistakes that we make, guys? Let's start off with you, Optimus. You got a big smile on your face. It feels like I could let you rip on this one.
Yeah, could we not all go off of this one?
Yeah.
Obviously, in the past, it's definitely with regards to the emotions that we definitely show up front before we actually, kind of take a step back and actually process what was being said, sort of compartmentalize everything in your head before you actually respond is what you're supposed to be doing. And we sort of, jump and react. So definitely taking a breath, pulling yourself back, and addressing the actual conversation as a regulated human being is definitely how we want to approach any subject. But sometimes it's not the way we generally do that, because again, we feel like we got a shot to the head with that punching glove, and we just want to jump back and throw one back. So
exactly. So we could end up being a hot mess. So when our emotions are unregulated and we're a bit of a hot mess, yeah, totally. That's a great point. What about yourself, Knight Rider? What's another common mistake that we make when we are getting blamed?
Well, other end of the scale for me used to be following that old mantra of happy wife, happy life. So it'd be like, right, okay, I'll just take the blame for this because it's only words. It's yada, yada, yada. Yeah, that's fine. I'll take the blame. Whoa, that's a mistake. That comes back and bites you in the ass later in life because, in theory, you'd think it would work. In reality, in the long run, that doesn't work.
Yeah, and how does it come by? That's a really good one. Like you suck it up and say, you know what, I will just let this one, try and let like water off a duck's back. I'll just let this one go. It's just words. And I want her to be happy because, well, I'm a good guy. I'm a nice guy. I want my wife to be happy. How does that come back and can potentially bite? It always bites you in the back, in the ass. So how do you think it bites guys in the ass when they keep sucking it up and taking the blame?
Well, it just keeps coming back further again with the next issue, and then in the end, all you're doing is just projecting weakness
Yeah.
by
And
being a punching bag to what a lot of the time could be just a load of bullshit.
exactly. And you're tacitly supporting your wife. You're actually letting her know that her narrative that she's telling is the truth. And that it's like feeding, it's like they give them the finger, they take the hand, like they say about, like, you know, with your kids. It's the same thing, that in that situation, you think in that moment it's going to make it better by just appeasing her and a happy wife, happy life. Bullshit. But yeah, she'll have a hunger for that. And when she come back, she's going to look for more, and you're going to continue to bend over until you know where you're going to get it. Okay, what about you, Cowboy? What mistake do you think? That took a while for the guys to get that, Jim. What do you think, Cowboy? What is one of the mistakes you make when we're being blamed?
Firing right back.
Okay, yeah.
Like firing right back and start pointing your finger right back at her about whatever the issue is. Like she's blaming you, she's pointing fingers at you, like, okay, this is wrong because you did this. Is like, no, I did this. It'd be, and like you start trying to argue the details of it. It's like, no, I did this because you told me this, because you told me you wanted it this way or that way, or whatever the issue is. And it just kind of, you just start going in circles, and then you start going into this argumentative tornado, if you will. And next thing you know, you end up spending 3 hours, like, realizing you wasted 3 hours of your life arguing something stupid.
Yeah, very well said. Yeah, guys, so I think we pretty much hit up on all those points. So when you're being blamed, a big mistake is when we get defensive. So Optimus hit on, how the emotions, we are unregulated with our emotions, so we get defensive. A big thing is we take it personally. When our wives start blaming us, we're seeing it as, I've done something wrong. And let's be honest for a moment, guys. If we didn't believe it was true, at some level, we wouldn't get irritated. Like if we knew in our heart of hearts that what she was saying was total bullshit, it was actually her own issues and she's projecting, you could be a lot more patient with her than when she brings it up and you get defensive and you start escalating, right? The second thing then is beating yourself up. We see that a lot with nice guys where they get criticized by the wife and they buy into it. Like, look, we all need to improve, and we're all here looking to get better, right? That's what we are focused on in the ARC system, is every day getting 1% better. But with that in mind, like, we don't need to beat ourselves up. It's like, okay, let's learn from it. If I've made a mistake, then let's learn from it. But as for this video, we're going to assume you've made no mistake and she's blaming you. So don't be accepting that narrative. And then finally is the over apologizing. So Knight Rider hit on this. It's where we accept the blame and we say we're sorry, and she just loses respect for you. You lose respect for yourself, and it is just going to keep this dynamic locked in place. It's not healthy. Okay, let's move on to then, guys. Why is Wesley's wife really blame shifting? A lot of people will say, because she's a fucking narcissist. Why is she really blame shifting? What causes people not to take responsibility? Because everybody in our program, we have no victims. Everybody's looking to clean up their side of the street, do the work. So we're not familiar with this. We don't have guys like that in our program that aren't fully leaning in and doing the work on themselves. So why do you think that in his case, why is his wife shifting the blame? You want to have a shot at that? I think, Cowboy, you look like you want to go.
Why is she shifting the blame? Projection, really. Your wife, until you start working on yourself, let's face the facts, nobody really wants to be wrong about anything, and a lot of people don't know how to handle or deal with being wrong.
Wrong. Go on, man. I couldn't help myself. Go for it.
A lot of people can't handle it, don't know how to handle being wrong, so they'll just and it's not just women, it's like the people will shift that blame or point their finger at something they just to avoid that accountability, or just to avoid that responsibility of being wrong. And then if you just accept it, it's just going to keep on happening.
Yeah. That's completely correct. You are not wrong. So it's the ego, right? Our egos, we don't want to be seen as being wrong. And in a lot of cases in relationships, that's where we'll see the ego coming up most, because it's where the ego feels most vulnerable. And ultimately, it comes down to the blaming comes down to hurt people. So if your wife is not doing the work on herself, she's going to project, like Cowboy said, she projects all her issues onto you, and then you make the mistake of taking it personally and on one level accepting that. But once you realize that, in some way, you're probably keeping that dynamic in place, because I'm yet to work with a client who doesn't fully embrace his own power, address issues in the marriage, not accept the blame when he's not to blame, also taking radical accountability. And radical accountability means I take total responsibility for my side, but it requires also to be very clear on what is not mine. That is not mine. And when you do that, that whole dynamic falls to pieces, because it's not, I know this is probably going to rub people up the wrong way, but if you're stuck in a relationship where your wife is blaming you all the time on one way or another, you are actually keeping that dynamic in place. You need to step up. So this kind of videos like this will help you, give you some insights about that. Like, it's not all on you and that she's projecting onto you, but there are steps that you can take to actually address that. And so let's go right into that, guys. Now, the 3 steps that you can take to stop the blaming. Number 1, acknowledge her emotions, right? So rather than getting defensive and taking it personally, we can acknowledge her emotions. Guys, why do you think it's so important that we acknowledge her emotions when if she's going on the attack and she's blaming? Why is it important that we actually acknowledge her emotions rather than just trying to steamroll her?
I can come in on that one because one of the classic mistakes I would personally used to make is, if I felt the subject that was being discussed was a load of bullshit, I would often start the response with, yeah, well, look, this is incredibly fascinating, and straight away, you haven't acknowledged the other person's feelings. You haven't acknowledged their emotions. You've come out with this complete sarcasm by saying it's fascinating, when the way you're saying it means they know that you're not taking it seriously. So even if you don't agree with the point being made, you have to at least acknowledge the emotions where your wife is coming from, because that's how she's feeling. That is how she's feeling, and you got to deal with that first.
Right on. Well said, Knight Rider. So really, it's just a matter of acknowledging. Is a simple thing of labeling. So it seems like you're upset, or it seems like you're angry, sweetheart, and that allows us to let her, she's going to let off more steam probably when you say that. But you're going to go deeper into what's really going on, because most of the time we're staying at the surface level, and she's blaming you for stuff that she's probably not really angry about. It's probably to do with something else. Okay, acknowledge her emotions, really important. The second thing is set her intention, guys. So, if your wife's blaming a lot, you need to let her know that you are willing to work on the issues, but only when so if she's calling you names or being disrespectful, I'm more than happy to listen to what you're going through at the moment, but not when you're going to call me whatever, an asshole, you're calling me inconsiderate, or you're calling me whatever names are being used.
Narcissist.
And exactly, well said. A narcissist. You need to set an intention, and you need to set the ground rules for having this discussion. It can't just be she's having a go at you and you're just sitting and taking it all. It has to be, look, I'm more than willing. The intentions, I'm more than willing to discuss this issue so we can find a solution together. That's the intention. At the same time, we're not going to be able to do this if you're doing X behavior or Y behavior. You need to explain to what you're not going to accept. And if she continues to do that, calling you names, then you're going to have to end the conversation, right? That's having a healthy boundary. You can't just be that punching bag. Okay, that's really, really important. And then finally, for the love of God, keep the conversation focused on the key issue. Guys, who knows that feeling, right? It's like you get into one little thing, and all of a sudden we're ripping up the past from 20 years. We're no longer talking about how you forgot to pack the kids' lunch. It's going back to how you never liked her parents in the first place, and who knows that feeling, guys, of where it digresses. Yeah, okay. Right, I think we can all put our hands up to that. And it's certainly something that myself and Evie, at the beginning of our relationship, that'll happen a lot. It's so important. if there's one point I want everybody to take down from this session today, this video, is stay on the key issue. Do not digress. So if you're talking to her about, like, as in you would like her to let's say that you feel like you're being blamed all the time, that she's taking no responsibility, and she starts saying, well, last week, it was your turn to put out the bins, you didn't, and you blamed it on me. We're starting to go down a different, rabbit hole. So what you need to do is say something like, okay, look, I'm happy to go into all those different topics, but let's take one thing at a time. At the moment, we're talking about, and then bring it back to that same issue. Because if we don't, we just end up going down another rabbit hole, and it just gets more and more messy. And as we all know, guys, that makes things just more and more difficult. So guys, now that you understand what to do when your wife is blaming you, it all really comes down to taking leadership in your marriage. You want to watch this next video onto how to lead as a man in your marriage.